Hi, my followers. It's me. Today I'm going to be doing a very special show for you. One of my favorite people that I know, James Coker, does a show called Cooking for Your Wife. So I am going to do a show called Cooking for Your Wife. I don't have a wife, but I do have a girlfriend. Her name is Brittany, and she's wonderful. So welcome to this week's episode of Cooking for Your Girlfriend Wife. Tonight we're going to be making a gumbo. So come along, let's make a gumbo. Things you will need for your gumbo. Turn around. Things you will need for your gumbo. Turn around. All-purpose flour. Bacon drippings. Some assembly required. Celery, bell pepper, and onions, and those are going to be coarsely chopped. 2 cloves of garlic. Andouille sausage, a pound of. You need beef bouillon, cubes, probably like 6. You need a hot pepper sauce. I got Crystal. They are from Louisiana. Gumbo is a Louisiana food. You need Tony Chach Cheers, Creole seasoning salt. Whole bay leaves, thyme, stewed tomatoes, tomato sauce, gumbo file, a whole bag of okra, frozen, but then you thaw it. Don't put it in frozen. You need crab meat. I found a can of crab meat, white distilled vinegar, 3 pounds of shrimps. You need Worcestershire sauce and as many Topo Chico as you can drink in the amount of time it takes to make the jumbo. First, you need to start your stove. Your igniter doesn't work, so you turn it on and then light it with the blowtorch. And now that your pan is lit, you grab your little bacon pieces and you just put them in the pan. And then you grab another piece and then you put it in the pan. Ow! And then you grab another piece and then you put it in the pan. This part is going to take a while. I have to cook a whole pack of bacon. So in the meantime, I'm going to chop some vegetables. Okay, so you take that onion that you just chopped and you put it in the food processor, and you grab the rest of the onion that you chopped and you put it in the food processor, and you grab the last bit of the onion that you chopped. Okay, next you add 1 cup of celery to your food processor, but the celery is supposed to be diced, and I don't know how much 1 cup is, so I'm just going to add a lot, because celery has a very low caloric input, and also if you eat celery in Fable 2, it increases your positivity score, like you become less evil. So like my neighbor's dead mom used to tell me in my sleep, eat more celery or I'll haunt you for the rest of your life. It's time for a Topo Chico chug break. I have already lost track of the steps. So you put your bell pepper into the same food processor. You're going to process all of these foods together at the same time into a chopped up mess. And then you take these 2 cloves of garlic, which are actually 3 cloves, and you put them in the food processor. So next you get the lid and you put it on your food processor, and then you walk the food processor over to the food processor stand, and then you put the food processor on the food processor. Oh boy, I'm finally done cooking all that bacon, and I had to cook the bacon to get the drippings. And I needed 3/4 of a cup of drippings, and this is all that I got of the drippings. That's it for the drippings. I needed 3/4 of a cup, I got a little less than a half. And to the best of my knowledge, the drippings are only really for flavor. So since I only got less than a half a cup of the drippings, I'm gonna add a heaping half cup of flour to the drippings instead of the full cup it requested in the first place. So now I need to just whisk the roux for a good 20 minutes until it turns a nice rich mahogany. Okie doke, so the roux is now turned in color to kind of a more browny color than it had been. So now we're gonna remove this bad boy from the... And now that we are successfully off the heat, we're gonna continue stirring it until I guess it stops cooking according to the recipe. So it's been brought to my attention that it's not pronounced roux, it's actually pronounced roux. So now I'm gonna get back to work on the roux. Okay, so next, in your roux, you're gonna grab your food processor full of your celeries and bell peppers, and you're just gonna dump it into your roux mix. And then you're just gonna take that whisk and you're gonna incorporate it, all of your vegetables into your roux until you got a vegetable roux mix. So it's been brought further to my attention that it's not actually pronounced roux, it's pronounced rux, so let's get back to the rux. Next in your roux, you take your whole pile of andouille sausage and you move it over to your roux mix and you dump it into the roux. It would appear that something has gone horribly wrong. I'm supposed to let this simmer for 10 to 15 minutes, but it seems to be so thick that I don't know if simmering is an option, but I'm gonna do it. All right, so while this sludge is simmering, we're going to do the next step, which is adding these 6 little bouillon cubes to a Dutch oven, and then adding 12, oh God, cups of water. Slowly to the Dutch oven, and then you're going to bring that to a boil. Okay, so once your bouillon broth is at a boil, got a boiling bouillon broth, then you're going to grab your rocks and you're just going to slowly add bits of it to your bubbling, boiling bouillon broth. And there you go. You're just going to add a little more. And you're just going to keep doing that until all of your roux, oh God, is added to the mixture. And once it's all added in, you're just going to whisk it together to incorporate it so that everything's all blandered in there. And once it's all blandered, you're going to bring it to a boil and then reduce that boiling blander down to a simmer. Orky dork. So once your Witcher's brew was at a simmer, then you're going to go and add a bunch of dry ingredients, which are going to be these right here, which are some Tony cherries and some bay leaves and some pine needles and things. You add that. There's some salt in there too for good measure. And then you add your hot sauce. Fun fact, a pentagram worth is always the correct amount of anything to add. And you may ask yourself, why not just do a star? Because that's not right. And then you add your stewed tomatoes. Just dump them on in there. Just like so. And then lastly, oh shit, where'd it go? Here we are. Add your tomato sauce. You dump that on in there, and then you're gonna mix it. So now you just whisk it all in there to incorporate. Whisking, and it should start looking pretty gross if you did it correctly. If it's looking gross, you did it right. Good job. Alrighty, once your oopy goop has turned to a simmer, And drop that heat down to low and let that bad baby simmer for an hour. 45 minutes into your 1 hour, you're gonna add 2 teaspoons of your gumbo file powder to your simmering mix. And then you're just gonna stir, stir, stir to incorporate. Stir to incorporate. Stir to incorporate. And for the next 15 minutes, while your gumby simmers, go ahead and heat a little oil in a pan. Dump your bag of now long thawed okra in, along with 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. And once the 15 minutes are up, use a spoon to transfer your okra to your boiling jumbo. You get the idea. Give it a little stir-ski. Once your orca's in, go and we're gonna just dump Shrimp Mountain into your orca blend. If you guessed the next step was stir to incorporate, you are just so very good at what you do. Next, we're gonna go on ahead and add our pan of lump crab meat. And then we're gonna stir those chunks to incorporate. And then we top her off with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna give the wheel a final spin, and then we're gonna let her sit for another 45 minutes. Dear sweet God. And lastly, 2 final teaspoons of gumbo filet. Mix it in, and we are done. Oh, baby.